Hey, this is Denise from LoomaHat.com. In today's video, I want to show you how to make this purse. It's pretty simple. There are just a couple of techniques that I do want you to know that we're going to have to do. One of them is to change colors, and I'm going to show you how to do that. You'll notice that we have like some color bursts within the knitting, and I'm going to show you how to do that. We're going to make this easy yarn rope, some tassels, and how to attach your handle to your purse using a split ring. And I'm also going to show you how to make the purse handle with a spool loom. So even though it's an easy purse to make, there are several things that you need to know how to do them. So let's get started. So for my purse, I'm going to use this medium-sized Nifty Knittier 31 peg loom. You can use any size you want. This is not a have to, it's whatever works for you. I'm also using worsted weight yarn and 2 strands because I don't want any holes in my purse. And I'm going to start off by just wrapping my anchor peg. You can make a slip knot if you want. This works for me. And then I'm going to wrap each peg. So this is our first row, and we're going to wrap each peg twice. Go ahead and push the first row down a little bit just so you can make room for that second row. And then we are going to wrap. Okay, so we're back at the front. Each peg has been wrapped twice, as you can see, and because we used 2 strands, so there's 4 on each peg. And now we start off with this last one that we wrapped, and we're going to grab that bottom 2 loops and bring them over. And we're going to continue to do the same thing all the way around the loom. Easy, easy, easy. That's all we're doing. Now, some people do it like this, upright, and some people turn their looms over and do this, right? Listen, there's no wrong way. This, of course, does not work for me. I don't like doing it this way. I just want to show you another way of doing it. I tend to do it this way. In fact, I'm usually sitting down, and I have the loom on my lap, and that's when I do this. What are we doing now? We're knitting. And you need to do that all the way around. Okay, and once we're back at the front, then guess what? We start again. Okay, so just remember that this is what you need to do until you've reached at least this part right here, and you need about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You need about 13 rows. Okay, and then come back. So I've done my 13 rows, and as I explained, see that brim just automatically is created. It just, the knitting just starts to crawl curve over, and you get that really cute brim. This here I'm going to knit it in a little bit, but for right now I'm just gonna get it out of my way. And now I'm ready to add what I'm calling my color burst. I don't know what you want to call it, but I'm going to incorporate the floss. Okay, and I like bright contrasting colors, so I'm going to use this blue. I'm going to use 3 colors, and I'm going to start with this one. And then basically all you do is go ahead and make a knot. And you might hear some thundering because sunny South Florida is not too sunny today, so just ignore it. Okay, so we're here, and I made my knot, and I'm just gonna put my little knot right there and tighten this up. Right. Okay, And then this string just becomes one of the strings. It's, you know, you don't have to do anything special. It'll show up sometimes, not others. Don't worry too much about it. Just basically go about your regular knitting. Okay? And we're gonna do this for whatever length you want your purse to be. Just about 5 rows before you're done. That's when you stop with this, because we're gonna incorporate that other little color on the bottom. In this case, I'm making a pink one, and I'm gonna add purple to the bottom. If your floss has ended, and you only have like a little piece left, and you're basically gonna stop here with that one color, go ahead and take that loose string and tie it to one of the other ones. Okay, sorry. So you basically do this. It's just a tie, doesn't have to be anything major because it's pretty much secure. So just take it and just make 2 knots. Just to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. Okay. And then you can go ahead with your next color floss and make your knot and put it right here on your peg. So here's my next color, and again I'm gonna make my knot, and I'm gonna place it on the next peg, and it just becomes one of the strings, and this just lays here. It's just loose, and later on when you're done with your with your purse, you can just cut all of these loose ones off, all of the different colors. As you can see, I got lots of them. Okay, and then we just continue loom knitting with our new floss color. Now I'm a few rows from where I want it ended. I've put about 4 colors on my color burst, and now I'm ready for the bottom part, which I'm going to make purple. So I take these strings here and I cut them and give myself, I don't know, 2-3 inches. It's not major, any amount is fine. And then I get my 2 strands of my bluish purple color, and I make a knot, and before I do that, let me go ahead and secure the floss. Like I said before, I go ahead and I make 2 simple knots right here, and that secures that. And then I take my new color and put it over that one, and I tighten it up. And if you want to, some people do and some people don't, you can knot these 2 colors just to kind of secure it. It's not going to go anywhere. And then we start by wrapping the next one, and we're going to knit just like we've been doing the whole time, 2 over 2. So just continue doing that. I'm going to do 4 or 5 more rows. I'm not sure. I'm going to see how it goes. The other one I did 5 rows, so I might do that. Okay, and come back so we can get to the next step. I've done the 5 extra rows in the different color, and now I'm ready to close the bag. This is the bottom. So I'm going to take my working yarn and I'm going to go almost halfway around my loom, and I'll cut my yarn here, and I'll get my needle, and this can sometimes be a bit of a problem, so let's see how it goes. I'm going to thread my needle this way. So I thread my needle, and now I'm ready to close my bag. And the way I do this is I go through these two that are here, and it's usually a lot easier than it is right now. I don't know why. And it comes off and it gathers to the side, and we do the same thing again. And I'm using a needle. Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just use my hook to do this. So you could do either one. And I'm gonna show you how you can use your hook instead. You can always just pull with the hook. Sometimes it helps to just use your finger, and then you can just grab it like this with your hook, right? And pull it through. I don't want to undo my needle because I rather the needle. Okay, so that's two ways of doing it. So keep going until you've gotten all of your loops off your peg and your purse off the loom, and we'll continue. Okay, so we're on the last loops that we're taking off the loom, and everything comes off, and you release the purse from the loom, and you close it up right here. Okay. And pull real tight. Okay, to see that it's as close as it's gonna get, and then get the needle and finish closing it off. Okay, and this is the bottom, so you know, you don't have to go crazy with it. Just make sure that it's closed. Okay, and because it might carry several things, probably a good idea to make sure that it closes really good. Once you're done sewing that hole shut to feel like you can safely say it's not going to open, you can take your needle with the thread and push it through the middle, and I would do a few more. I'm just going to try to finish here, but I would sew a couple of more lines before I end it, and then you can come here and do a few as well. By the way, this is also an option, not when you've done these, but it looks really good. It has like a purl knit look when you turn things inside out. I like to do that with my hats, and that's always an option. In this case where I've done those color bursts, it's probably not a good idea because it's going to be hard to clean up and make it look good. But any other time, you know, it's a pretty good look. Alright, so when you're here, just like I said, finish closing up. Make your knot. Okay, once you feel secure that you've closed this well, in fact 2 knots would not hurt, and then you can just cut this off, cut the string off. Okay, turn it back out around, and now it looks like a hat, right? Because that's basically what it is. But you make it longer so that it's turns into a purse. Okay, so that part is done, and now I'm going to show you how to make these right here. Okay, so now we're going to make these right here, and we do that with 3 strands of yarn. And the way I figure out the length is you need to take your yarn and make sure it can go completely around and all the way down, and you have a tail about 6 inches after that. So take your yarn around, bring it all the way to down, and have about 6 inches, and that's the length that it should be. Okay, and you need 3 of these because you're going to braid them. So give yourself about 1 inch, maybe a little more, and make a knot. Okay, and then start a braid. You can put your yarn on a clipboard, which makes it easier, or you can tape it down to a surface so that you can braid. You figure out what works best for you, and when you're done braiding all the way to the end, come back. Okay, so make sure that once you get one knot on one end, that this one's tight, and you can tell the difference because you need to make this one a bit loose because you're gonna have to come back to it, okay, and undo it. So make your knot and don't tighten it up too much, okay? Leave it pretty loose, just tight enough for it to get through the little holes in the purse, but not so tight that you can't undo it, okay? And then you're gonna find exactly where you want it situated. First you have to find out whether you like this side or this side, which side's gonna be your front, okay? For me, because of this little thing right here that I don't like the way it looks, I'm gonna pick this as my front. And then I'm gonna find my middle, and I use this little indentation right there for me to figure out what the middle is, and I go from there up. That's my middle, and that's where I'm going to start with my little project here. So I come down a little under the curl. If you want, you can put yours in it. I'm going to put mine a little bit down, like right here. Remember that this is, wherever you put it is where your purse is going to close up. All right, so I want that to happen right here. So since this is my middle, I'm going to start with this over here. And so I feed it through the bottom. And then about every other one, just get a crochet hook. It's probably going to be your easiest bet. You can use your regular knit hook. I like this one. And just feed it. Feed it down with your hand and up with your hook, and try to stay on the same line. Okay, not hard at all, right? And keep doing that until your other end meets up with this end. You're gonna stop right here because you leave a little opening, okay? So when your other end meets up with this end, we'll finish up. Well, one correction, actually the knots need to be loose on both ends, and I'll go back and fix that on the video, but make a notation. But if yours are already a little tight, you can just use your hook to help you get it looser, because you do need to undo this knot so that you can put in your beads, okay? So you undo the knots without undoing the braid, okay? And twirl it so you can get your beads in. In this case, I'm using a pair of pony beads. Just make sure that you don't get your braiding undone like I just did. Get it back nice and tight, and you're gonna make a knot back on it, and it's gonna be a pretty tight knot. Don't worry about making it, you know, so big that your pony bead doesn't come out, because anyway you're gonna put tassels here, and that bead's not gonna go anywhere. All right, no matter really how big the hole on the bead is, don't worry about it. So you make your knot. This time you make it nice and tight so your braiding doesn't get loose, and you do the same thing on the other end. So here's a spool loom that you can use to make the handle for your purse. And spool looms have two ends. It has a smaller one on this side with 5 pegs, and then you have a bigger one on this side with 8 pegs. And this side will make a much bigger, thicker handle, and of course the smaller end will make a smaller size. So in the case that I'm doing this small bag, I'm gonna use this side, which I did, to make this. And a spool loom works like any other loom. Usually people only use 1 strand, but I always like to use 2, and in this case I also like to use 2 strands because it makes for a thicker handle, because these things, when you put a certain amount of weight on them, they start to stretch, and they just keep stretching and they don't do too well. So I like to use 2 strands of yarn, and depending on who the bag belongs to, if it's going to be an adult, I would put this in between, because it gives it some more strength, and it keeps the yarn from stretching so much. So I basically just feed it in, and it's real easy to do. Just cut it the same length and feed it through, and you're gonna see that your handle is stronger and can handle more weight. So let me show you real quick that it's exactly like any other loom. You can make your knot, put it on one of the pegs, and then just wrap your pegs, right? And you're going to under over, same as you've been doing all along. Now, one thing about this side where you make the really huge handle, which most of you are not gonna do, this is really for like I don't know, a backpack or something. It's much bigger. This is usually the one that we do, which is on this side. But if you decide to make this bigger one, you're gonna find that when your work gets right here, it's gonna get stuck. You're gonna have to go get it. So make sure that you have a string and that you can pull, and you might even need this pick, the hook, to kind of bring it down, because it gets stuck here, especially if you're using 2 strands of yarn. All right, so you're basically, like I said, you're gonna work it with the E-wrap stitch like we've been doing the whole time. Same thing here. That's how you're gonna make this. If you don't have a spool loom, don't worry about it. Just take 3, or if you want a wider one, take 3 or 4 of these, and just go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and you can make a strap, a handle or a strap for your purse with the loom that you already have. Okay, you're just gonna go back, forth, back, forth, back, forth, and that will give you one that's a bit open, like this, but it'll still work. Okay, this is how that was made. And you can sew it closed if you wanted it to be round, or just, you know, sew it like this and you have a wider strap. Okay, so let's attach our strap to our purse. Okay, if you like your tassel real thin like this, then you don't have to do anything. But if you like this puffy kind of pom-pom type of tassel, then let me show you what you're going to do. You get some yarn and you wrap it around 3 or 4 of your fingers. It depends on how long you want it. I use 3. And just wrap it about 14 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So about 14. That's how I like it. You could do more or less. And then just cut on the long, not up here, because then it'll stick up. So here on the long side, go ahead and cut it. And then get some string, and you're going to tie it on the top, and give yourself enough string, and try to make sure that you can tell this from these. Okay, so if necessary, make them really long so you can tell them apart. And there's a good reason for this, because these will come loose if you don't do it right. So like I said, make these longer, or whatever you have to do to be able to tell these apart from the rest of it. Alright, so you did that. Come down here, and normally if you were doing a regular tassel, you could just tie it, this little head part right here, and cut this off, and that makes, you know, the regular tassels that you see on curtains and stuff. This one's a little different. And then just cut this so that they're straight. Alright, and so they look like this, and you can fix them a little bit now and fix them a little bit later. These things, mine I'm like forever cutting, because I can't ever seem to get them to look as straight as I want them. So just cut them a bit so you can kind of feel like they look better. Alright, so you cut them, and now you have these 2 long ones, right, which are the ones that are keeping them together. And make sure you make it nice and tight, because really you don't want these to pull off. And then you take these 2 longer ones and you find the knot that you did before, which is here, and you're gonna take this and you're gonna tie it on the top of that knot. Oh my goodness. All right, and you found that, and you come here and you tie it. This is the way that's worked for me, and it could be that there's a better way somewhere, but this is the way I know how to do it, and so that's what I've done so far until I figure out something better. All right, so I tie it right here really tight, because I don't want it to get loose, and I come back and I tie it again really tight. Okay, and this was the knot that was holding the braid. Well, it's not the knot holding the braid anymore. It's now that string that you just cut, because you're gonna need to, unfortunately, get rid of this knot, otherwise it's gonna look ugly. So you cut that off, right? And now you're gonna need to feed this into this right here, and I found that it works best to use your hook and just feed it in there. And that's gonna serve 2 purposes. It's gonna get rid of that ugly knot, the ugly strings, the loose strings, and it's gonna secure your bead a lot better. Okay, so I'm not going to use a lot of time on here. This can get a little time consuming. As much as you can, feed it through there. Make sure your bead is nice and situated, and then you come back and even these out with the rest of them. I love these scissors, by the way. They're really good. They're sharp and they're really good scissors. It's easy to make the right shape. These are yarn scissors. Okay, so there you go. Your tassels are done, and it's time to now get to your handle. So the last part now is putting the split ring here on the side. And this is not the only way that you can attach your strap. You can actually, just like I sewed this here, you could sew the strap directly to it without this. I kind of like it. It just, to me, feels like it's better. Another thing that you could do is sew it inside. And this works pretty good, but I'm not a fan of doing that. But that's one. And you can also put the straps in the back if you're gonna lay the purse on the side, on your side, which looks really cute too. So those are your options. In this tutorial, I'm gonna show you how to put the split ring and attach your strap this way. Okay, so if you look at the split ring, it has like this little spot right here that you don't need for this particular use. So it's kind of good to hide it. So that's where I start. And I look to make sure that it's straight across, so my purse isn't like crooked. And so I use the actual stitch to get me there. So in this particular case, it started off right where this stitch right here started, right? So I can just come straight across, and I know that I need to start right here. So I take my yarn, and from the inside, I bring my yarn out. And the first thing I want to do is secure this yarn so I don't take it all the way out. I take it somewhat out and I bring it back in. And I'm going to make a knot right here. Okay, and this is going to help me to secure this a little better. So I make a nice tight knot. And now I know my yarn is secure. And I bring my needle back out. And now I'm going to connect the split ring. And I'm going to start off in that little ugly spot that I told you I want to hide. And it's a good idea to not bring your yarn back to the same place so that you don't create like a big gap, right? So you find another place next to the last place and do it there, and somewhere next to it, and bring it up, and you keep doing that until you've sewed at least an inch, you know, right here like this. And make sure that you reinforce that area. So with some extra yarn, you can just feed it through like such. And that's just going to give that area some extra holding power, because depending on the weight of what you put in, you can create a hole in your purse. Alright, so try to secure it and give it some extra yarn. So what you have left over, just feed it through. Look and see where you have some open areas and feed your yarn through there instead of cutting it, you just use it to make the rest of your spots a little stronger, and then just let it loose. Okay, and so there's your split ring, and now I'm gonna attach the split ring to the first strap. Make sure that your strap is straight, because it has a tendency to kind of curl. So make sure you have it straight, and each end is going to have like a string like this that's loose. So go ahead and feed it to the middle. Okay, so now it's in the middle, and the first thing you're going to do is you want to secure it here to your split ring. So go ahead and tie a knot. A nice tight one. And these strings, you can feed them back in instead of cutting them. Okay, just keep feeding them in back into the strap. You can do it one at a time, or you know, both, whatever. Okay, and just keep doing that till they're hitting inside of the strap and you can't see them anymore. Okay, they're in there and they're gone. Okay, and now it's time to sew it. And so again, you take a needle with some thread, the yarn needle, and start from the bottom. And before you go too far, bring it back in. You just want to give it more security and come right here and tie this. You're going to hide it in there, but you know, you're more secure that way. Just feed it in there. Okay, and feed your needle back in and back over. We continue to feed it through, and you want to get this nice and secure, so you need to put quite a few rows in there. If you want to make it a little quicker, you can, you know, double this up, but what happens when you do that is that it makes it really difficult to get it through the strap. So even though it takes longer, that's why I prefer to just do, you know, one strand, because I can go back into, you know, and feed it through the strap without having a really hard time. So you see, I can't tell you exactly like how many times I fed this through. I don't know, maybe 10, or that might be a little bit much, I'm not sure. But just so that you see that you can feel safe about this being pulled on and that it's not going to go anywhere. And once you feel that way, then just like you did over here, you're going to take your yarn, and as opposed to cutting it, just feed it through so that you keep that yarn, and just keep going about the length of the yarn so that it doesn't feed through anymore. You basically just lose your yarn inside. like that. A little bit more. This should do it. That's how you lose your yarn inside. And then just push it in. Okay, and it's lost in there. And there you have it. Quite the project, this purse. But it's very cute. And you can duplicate this in a lot of different colors. This might not be your taste. It isn't mine, but I think for a 6 or 7-year-old, I think this will work, especially if she likes pink and other colors. And that was one color. Here's a different one. And like I said, you can make it more to your style with a more subdued look, more grown up, without tassels. I hope you like this project. Like I said, it is an easy project, but it just has a lot of I don't know, different techniques to make it happen, but I think it's worth the while. So I hope you like it, and I'll check you guys out during the next project.